Welcome to Jesus Joshua YouTube channel. Hey there, friends. Today, we're diving into a thought-provoking discussion about the concept of sin and its relationship to God's perspective. Let's explore why God might consider sin as something negative or even hateful. Now, it's important to note that when we talk about God hating sin, we're not attributing human emotions to him, such as anger or hatred. Instead, we need to understand that sin is essentially anything that separates us from our Creator and from one another. God created us in His image and intended for us to thrive in community with each other. When we engage in sinful behaviors or practices, whether they be personal misdeeds or societal transgressions, we're not living up to our full potential as God's children. We might even be contributing to the suffering of others through our actions or inaction. This is why God doesn't just turn a blind eye to sin. Instead, He actively seeks justice and reconciliation through Jesus Christ. So remember this: when we discuss God hating sin, we're emphasizing the importance of living a life aligned with our true purpose and potential as His beloved children. Let's strive to live lives that honor Him and foster love and unity among all people. God hates sin because it is the very antithesis of His nature. The psalmist describes God's hatred of sin this way: "For you are not a God who takes pleasure in wickedness. No evil dwells with you." Psalm 5-4. God hates sin because He is holy. Holiness is the most exalted of all His attributes. Isaiah 6-3. Revelation 4:2-8. His holiness totally saturates His being. His holiness epitomizes His moral perfection and His absolute freedom from blemish of any kind. Psalm 89-35. 92-15, Romans 9:14. The Bible presents God's attitude towards sin with strong feelings of hostility, disgust, and utter dislike. For example, sin is described as putrefying sores, Isaiah 1-6, in KJV, a heavy burden, Psalm 38-4, defiling filth, Titus 1:15. To Corinthians 7-1, a binding debt, Matthew 6:12-15. Darkness, 1 John 1-6, and a scarlet stain, Isaiah 1:18. God hates sin for the simple reason that sin separates us from Him. But your iniquities have separated you from your God. Your sins have hidden His face from you, so that He will not hear. Isaiah 59-2. See also Isaiah 13:11. Jeremiah 5:25. It was sin that caused Adam and Eve to run away from God and hide among the trees of the garden. Genesis 3-8. Sin always brings separation, and the fact that God hates sin means that He hates being separated from us. His love demands restoration, which in turn demands holiness. God also hates sin because of its subtle deceitfulness, which entices us to focus on worldly pleasure to the exclusion of God's blessings. Those who have their sins forgiven can say, "You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand." Psalm 16:11. To pursue sin is to turn one's back on the gifts of God, who has plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29-11. God's hatred of sin implies that He loves His people and